just my children and my wife. Thank my lucky stars to be living here today, 'cause the flag still stands for freedom and they can't take that away. And I'm proud to be an American, where at least I know I'm free. And I won't forget the men who died, who gave that right to me. And I gladly stand up next to you and defend her still today, 'cause there ain't no doubt I love this land. God bless the USA.
Now, I don't know anybody who's a true American that doesn't love that song. Gives me goosebumps every time. God bless the USA. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Outside the Beltway Radio. My name is Alan. I am your host. Today's show is going to be about accountability in our government. And that leads to us. We got to hold our government accountable. I mean, it all starts with Benghazi. We'll get on to Benghazi to start. 4 Americans dead. This administration blames it on, excuse me, a video made by somebody in America that was anti-Muslim, quote-unquote anti-Muslim. And somehow some hoodlums in Benghazi got their hands on a cell phone, an iPad, watching YouTube, and got all riled up and said, hey, let's go kill the American ambassador at the embassy. Right? Let's go kill the... Yeah, that's what happened. And needless to say, Susan Rice, the UN ambassador at the time, goes on all the Sunday talk shows following the Benghazi massacre, is what I want to call it, and says it's blamed on a video that this guy had made. Okay? We come to find out later that people on the ground were saying, this is a terrorist attack. This is a terrorist attack. You know what pisses me off the most is, for all of you that don't really know a lot of the details about the situation, about 3 blocks away from the embassy, there was a CIA annex where CIA agents were there to, gather intelligence and do what CIA agents do. And when they found out that the embassy was under attack, they wanted to go and help the ambassador and some of the staff that was still there. And I think there was a couple security agents there too. They were given orders to stand down. That's right. Our American government told soldiers to not go get other Americans. That's like a credo of the American military, is to leave no one behind. And that's not just doesn't exclude citizens and non-military personnel. That's everybody. And guess what happened? Those CIA agents were true heroes, and they said, screw you. We're going to fight. This is our job. And they went, and they gave their lives to defend the ambassador. Unfortunately, the leadership back home didn't send reinforcements. They said, we don't want to go there. We don't know how the situation is on the ground. I don't recall ever in the history of this country we ever done something like that. Especially with someone like an ambassador, a civil servant of this country. Just think about in Iran in the late 70s. We went and evacuated all the people with helicopters while thousands of people were storming the gates. Okay? That's how much time has changed. It's ridiculous. Nobody's been arrested. It took 3 months for the FBI to get there to start an investigation. When these soldiers came home, Hillary Clinton and the president had told these parents that they're going to get the guy that made this video. Essentially blaming it on this guy. Guess what? They got the patsy. They got this guy. This guy made a video. They arrested him because he was on probation. He wasn't supposed to get on the internet. So they went and arrested this guy. So so far, no one's been arrested for the murder of our ambassador on foreign soil. And we arrested this guy that made this video. I don't know about you, but I see something wrong with that picture. Bottom line, no accountability. No accountability. And the IRS scandal. What about that one? That's a doozy. That one pisses me off more than Obamacare. I don't know if it should or shouldn't, but it pisses me off more than Obamacare. You remember when the scandal first broke? First of all, the agent, Lois Lerner, they planted a question in a press conference. When I say planted, they had somebody sitting in the press conference asking a question they wanted to be asked so they can get this out on their own terms. The fact that a whole bunch of 501c4s were being, conservative organizations were being targeted specifically. 100% of them. 100%. From 2010 to 2012. Pre-2012 election. And what happens is most of these 501c4s are conservative. Let me just read this real quick. This is the actual IRS definition of what a 50c3 and a 50c3 and a 50c3 or C4 is. Okay. In case you didn't know, a 501c3 is a charity or private foundation with open memberships. And a 501c4 is a civic league or an association for promotion of social welfare. Okay, so the 501c4 is in the political realm. 100% of these people were targeted. 100% conservative. And just think if the shoe was on the other foot. It's insane. And this is what I don't think the liberals fail to realize. I think this is what they fail to realize is that if the shoe was on the other foot, or could be on the other foot eventually, and it's wrong either way. It's wrong either way. The government should not be bullying anybody. Anybody. And now the Democrats want to make this scandal actual law. Because it benefits them. Because the third party, there's a 501c3, a 501c4, and then there's unions. Now, under the new provision they're throwing out there, they're going to restrict the 501c4s. The 501c3s, they're like charitable organizations, so they're not necessarily in the political realm. I mean, they can be, but it's not as big of an issue with the 501c3. But unions, the unions are entrenched in the political landscape. Entrenched. And so if you limit the 501c4s and give the unions free reign, what do you think is going to happen? What's going to happen is there's going to be less money in the conservative coffers and a lot more money in the liberal coffers. Okay? And these organizations, these 501c4s, these are people, passionate people that love this country. If you go, I mean, you may not agree with tons of their politics, but look at the basic logic of what they have. The basic logic is less government, because we're spending way too much money. We're playing with monopoly money, guys. These politicians and even these economists, they think that we're just above everybody else in the world and we're not going to have to pay debts or something. I don't know. I mean, I've even heard claims outrageous enough to where we were going to mint like a $17 trillion coin, like a dollar bill's worth $1, but it's only worth $1 because someone else thinks it's worth $1. Do you know what I mean? The value of something is only worth how much ever someone else values it. There's only a couple things in this world that stay valuable: gold, silver, and commodities. Something that is something. The paper dollar technically, or even a $20 paper dollar is technically worth the amount of money the paper's printed on. You know, it's not really worth. We put value to it ourselves. Anyways, nobody's been arrested. Lois Lerner's been has been subpoenaed. She is the focal point of this whole thing. At first, they blamed it on rogue IRS agents in the Cincinnati office, because the Cincinnati office is what controls the 501c3, 501c4 paperwork. They blamed it on rogue IRS agents. Who in their right mind believes that? That's laughable. That's funny. But as more comes out, well, first of all, let me go back to Lois Lerner. She got subpoenaed, and what she did was she went in under oath and professed her innocence. Then right after she professed her innocence, she pleaded the fifth, which obviously the Republican congressmen in the committee were flabbergasted. They could not believe that she professed her innocence and then pleaded the fifth. Because technically, when you profess your innocence, you've waived your right for the fifth. If you start talking, you waive your right for the fifth. Thank God these congressmen on this committee are proficient and persistent, because they are bringing her back, and they're going to hold her in contempt of Congress. Because I don't think she's going to talk. It's bigger than her. It goes beyond Lois Lerner. It goes all the way to the top, in my opinion. Maybe not the president, but the White House. And I'm convinced of it. She's the linchpin. And guess what? She wants immunity now. She wants immunity. Immunity. I said immunity. Who typically wants immunity? It's usually somebody that's going to be in trouble, that's done something wrong. Greta Van Susteren on Fox News made a great point. You don't ever give immunity to the big fish. You give immunity to the fringe people to get the big fish. Right? So I think she's going to be held in contempt of Congress, or she's going to incriminate herself. Either way, she's going to be in jail. And we'll get to the bottom of this. And I hope the public keeps their ears open. We need to know everything about what's happening here. Nobody should be intimidated by the IRS. Period. End of story. To quote President Obama. Obamacare. First of all, there's no accountability for that yet, but we're getting there. But Obamacare. This is a disaster. This is an absolute disaster. George Washington, James Madison, Thomas Jefferson, they're rolling over in their graves right now. The federal government essentially came in and took over a market, a capitalistic market, supply and demand. Okay? Took the whole thing over. We've already spent over $1.2 trillion to implement this thing. 300 something million dollars in Oregon. Not one person signed up. We're just talking about waste of money right now, okay? I don't remember in the history of this country where the government has spent money proficiently. You can email me at alion@outsidethebeltwayradio.com if you know, or tweet me, alanline at OTB Radio, because I don't know. Off the top of my head, I don't know. It never does. It's called bureaucracy. So far in the implementation, we spent $1.2 trillion for a website that still doesn't work, at least on the back end. We don't know who signed up, who hasn't signed up. The administration keeps on coming out with these crazy numbers. And these crazy numbers just bother me in general, on both sides of the aisle. How do they really know what these numbers are? Do you know what I mean? You really don't know. We're talking about millions of people. How do they come up with these random numbers? Because you hear like 20 of them. All you can go by is anecdotal evidence of people losing their coverage. Some people are gaining coverage. People that have pre-existing conditions, I know personally of a couple people that are getting coverage now. But you don't take over the whole entire healthcare system to do that. And they'll argue that they didn't take it over. It's still in private markets, blah, 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 right? Well, they're mandating prices. They're keeping prices at a certain level. Okay. What happens? Okay, so say you own your own business, and the government, and you're selling hamburgers. Okay, your overhead is $2.06 a burger. You're trying to sell it for $3.50, so you're making $1.50 off the top, right? The government comes in and says, you know what? That's too expensive. You have to sell your burger for $2.50. Or actually, we'll make it even $2.10. So you're making 4 cents. You can't stay in business. What the government does is they guarantee you either if you lose money, we'll pay you the difference. And we're going to mandate everybody. So even people that don't use healthcare very often, we're going to mandate them to pay a couple $100 a month. The invincibles, the 18 to 35-year-olds. That in itself is a whole nother issue. Whoever thought that those people would be gladly giving a couple $100 a month to pay for somebody else's stuff is beyond me. Still no accountability. I heard the president say it's my fault for that. I can't remember his words exactly, but he said it's my fault for the lame rollout. I say lame because I don't want to say other words. But that's as far as he's gone. That doesn't help somebody who's losing their coverage or paying $200, $300 more, or has the same premium, but their deductible's like outrageous. So if something bad happens to them, they're going to be broke anyways. It really affects the individual market, you know. Some people that were buying their health care not through their employer, but by themselves. Those are the people that really got screwed. No accountability. Zero accountability of this government right now. And it's partially our fault. The people need to speak up. Slowly but surely, I'm seeing people speak up, like myself. I'm doing my podcast on my own dime to get the word out. That's how passionate I am about this. It's important. We are at a crucial time in our nation's history right now. Crucial time. And we need to wake up. We need to wake up. Our liberties are eroding. And they're eroding so slow that people that just live their everyday life, that don't pay attention to politics, aren't even noticing one bit. But before you know it, the government's going to be taking everything over. And that may sound crazy to you. But who would ever thought they would have taken over the healthcare system? Crazy. Bottom line is, this government needs to be held accountable by us, the voters. 2014, we need to get out and vote. Let's get our voices heard. That's all I got to say on this podcast, guys. You can tweet me, Alan Lyon, at OTB Radio. Email me at alyon@outsidethebeltwayradio.com. Or you can send me a post on the Facebook page, facebook.com/OutsideTheBeltwayRadio. Hope you have a wonderful day. God bless America.